Statement of Carlos Palmer regarding an unusual infestation. Original statement made. What's the date? The 17th of October, 2021. Audio recording by Jack Scribson, Head Archivist of the Magnus Institute, London. Statement begins. It was a normal day. I got dressed, got a breakfast, and drove to the lab. I'm a scientist, you see, down in Manchester. Or up in Manchester, I suppose, from here. I study all sorts of unusual phenomena. High EMF readings, cities disappearing and returning with no one having any recollection of it ever existing in the meantime. That sort of thing. I've been in America the past few years researching... Sorry, that's not relevant. I'll stay on topic. It was midnight. My shift starts at past, technically, but I always arrive early because the guy before me's wife starts work at 1 a.m, so I let him leave early so he can see her before she leaves. I don't really mind. I mean, technically I'm working for 3/4 of an hour that I'm not officially on the clock for, but it's a crime that I'm the only victim in, so I don't think it's too big a deal. Anyway, things were weird from the get-go, I was told, as the data had been wavy all day. Our company is stationed in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Manchester, where there's been reports of supernatural activity dating back to the late 1900s. Anyway, our current sample was a petri dish of dirt, which had been under the microscope for almost a week now. That's a long time for any of our specimens, but this sample had been giving off weird readings since we dug it up. Its pH level had been fluctuating wildly, even hitting 7s and 2s, but never damaging the dish it was in, which you'd expect an acidic substance that strong to do. It moved, too. Not often, mind you, but frequently enough that it had been reported by everyone who had studied it for longer than one shift. Everyone, that is, except me. My job usually consisted of sitting around bored out of my mind for 8 hours and 3/4, occasionally having to scare curious teenagers away with my torch and threats of the police. It was about 2 a.m. when I heard it. A low rattling coming from inside the storage cupboard. Grabbing my torch and taser, I went to have a look. Usually I would wait until whatever stupid kid had snuck in fell out, but it had been a particularly boring shift, and I'd just lost my last 3 games of online blackjack with Joe, so I was looking for something to take my mind off the sting of defeat. Opening the door with my foot, I shone my torch in, but I didn't see anything there. After a while, though, I noticed the eyes. Beady little things, but friendly enough, like little half-moons. I stepped inside the cupboard and picked up the little kitten. This might sound crazy, but as soon as I picked it up, I felt like throwing up. It didn't smell bad, and it was surprisingly well-groomed for a stray, and it wasn't wearing a collar, so that's what it had to have been. But all the same, it had me nearly doubling over with it. Then, as soon as it came on, it was over, and I was setting the kitten outside. It scarpered off, and I turned back to the dirt sample. There was a worm sat on it. I panicked immediately because, well, this wasn't exactly a sterile lab. 2 foreign entities potentially contaminating the samples could lose me my job. Pinching the worm gently, I carried it outside and threw it into the grass. When I got back to the dirt, there were 2 worms in it, and even as I watched, a third dug its way out of it. It shouldn't have been possible. That there wasn't enough dirt for the worms to be buried in it. But regardless, they kept coming. 4, 6, 12. The table was covered in the wriggly creatures. They kept climbing out of the dirt, and when I turned to run, I saw that they were forcing their way out of the cracks in the walls, dropping down on me from the ceiling. Whenever one landed on me, it felt like magma being dripped into my skin. Even when I brushed them off, I could still feel them wriggling on my flesh. I tried to tell the company what happened, but they didn't believe me. They gave me administrative stress leave, which everyone knows is just technical jargon, for they think I'm crazy and want me out of the way for as long as possible. But I know I'm not crazy, which is why I came to you. You'd think that a company set up to study the paranormal, that they'd be more understanding of sightings of the paranormal. But you believe me, right? You'll investigate? Statement ends. Damn it! I leave for coffee for 10 minutes, and they let a statement be made that is clearly screaming corruption, and they just let him walk away? I've sent Alice to go fetch him back. Hopefully he hasn't gotten far, and we'll be able to get some supplemental information. End recording. Mr. Palmer, could you sit there, just there, please?
Just here? Okay.
Yes, there. And please only speak when referred to, and when you do, speak into that recorder, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Carlos Palmer was caught up to on King's Cross Station. Alice bought him a tea cake and brought him back to the Institute for further questioning regarding his statement. Mr. Palmer, in your statement you consistently refer to your employer as the company. Who is your employer?
I don't think I can tell you that. Confidentiality and all.
Mr. Palmer, please. It is essential for us to officially conduct a follow-up investigation. Who is your employer?
Veil at Night Research and Investigations.
And you mentioned a shift worker before you, but you didn't give us a name.
Michael Joyner.
Thank you. Now, you said the data was, quote, wavy. What does that mean?
Usually the data stays fairly consistent, a straight line on the seismograph, but the occasional freakout. But generally nothing. That night, though, the thing was freaking out from the get-go. The radiation monitor was clicking faster than usual, but my training said just to record the data, but not to do anything else unless something could be photographed.
And was there anything?
No, there wasn't. Other than the worms and the kitten, but by the time I knew they were worth taking a photo of, the opportunity had passed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. You can leave. Leave your contact details with Laura at the front desk, and we'll get back to you if we find anything.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, Scribson.
Thank you, Mr. Scribson.
Mr. Palmer.
Yes?
You don't still feel the worms under your skin, do you?
Sometimes I think I can still feel them crawling on me, but I've taken many showers since that night. You don't need to worry.
I'll have to disinfect the archive again. Twice over. I can't allow the corruption to get a foothold in this institute. End addendum.